Chloe may not realize it, but her owner, Holly Reynolds, has worked like a dog to give all animals a better life.
I think they're more than worth it.
At 100 years old, she spent 80 of those fighting to protect animals. Growing up in Covington, she never had a dog. In a surprising twist, World War II would change that. But first, Holly got a master's degree from LSU in 1941, an achievement only 1% of women held. A year later, teaching at a junior college, lives drastically changed.
While I was there, Pearl Harbor happened, and the Red Cross tried to recruit me right away.
She didn't go.
My mother's mother had just died, and my father had died the year before that. And I was an only child. And I just felt like I ought to wait. So I waited another year and went. I went over in 43. They asked you to what area you would prefer to go to, and I said a warm area like North Africa. So they sent me to the British Isles. And I was in Edinburgh the first 3 months in what had been a hotel. And the Red Cross had taken it over, and they had facilities for servicemen and women to come and stay overnight if they were on leave. It was like a R&R.
Holly was in charge of the entertainment.
I was putting on dances and getting volunteer girls to come and dance with the fellas. And I took them on tours to different points of interest. And an important thing to do is listen. They love to talk about home and their girlfriends, and it was important to hear what they had to say, you know, for them to get it out.
3 months later, she was stationed in Northern Ireland.
There was entirely different, and I loved it. It was a small town like I was from. It was stationed there for the 5th Division, the Red Diamonds.
One memory there she can't erase.
I can remember them marching off when I knew they were going to Normandy.
Thousands of those U.S. soldiers would never be seen again.
When they marched away, and we knew where they were going.
Holly would go to Wales, then England. Along the way, she fell in love.
Oh, I married a Yankee from Michigan.
The Red Cross discouraged it.
You had to get permission from the Red Cross. They tried to talk you out of it, but nobody was going to talk me out of it. I had to go to London to get permission. And so when they realized that you're going to go ahead anyway, he said, well, you need to go and look at the dresses.
Wedding dresses from women in the U.S. for Americans getting married during the war.
So I married in a borrowed dress. White satin, a veil and everything.
But after the war, their love turned sour.
When we got home, nothing was right. It was not a wise thing for me to do, but as I said, nothing was going to change my mind at the time.
She headed home to Covington.
I was really in a bad state, very depressed. You know, my whole life had fallen apart.
Then a different kind of love scurried in.
don't know what happened to make me go and get a dog. And but see the dog up there on the left?
I do.
That's Dandy. He was born on the 4th of July and was named Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Dandy helped Holly find happiness again.
I'm still trying to pay back the help that he gave me. It was just wonderful.
Holly packed her bags and worked for the Red Cross again, this time at a Georgia hospital. Dandy went too. But the Red Cross discouraged this too.
We were supposed to live in the nurses' quarters, and you couldn't have a dog in the nurses' quarters. So I rented a room in town, and they didn't like that. They want you to be 24/7 Red Cross. So they transferred me to North Carolina, to Camp Lejeune, and same thing happened. I rented a room in town. So after about 3 months, they ordered me to come to Atlanta to headquarters.
They handed Holly an ultimatum.
This is not working. You're going to have to decide between the dog and the job. And I said, oh, I'll decide for the dog.
Holly never even hesitated.
I didn't have to think twice. I left the job.
After all, there are a lot of jobs, but only one Dandy.
Was well qualified, you see, from LSU.
Sure.
And that wasn't going to be a problem. So I quit, and I went home.
Holly went to work in hospitals and helping animals. When Dandy died, instead of mourning, she got moving, becoming an animal activist. In 1979, Baton Rouge's SPCA shut its doors, so Holly moved here to open a humane society.
I was working on a spay-neuter program before I got here. I was working with some neat people nationally who had an organization promoting spay-neuter.
She needed volunteers. Smiley Anders came to her rescue.
Smiley Anders had started his column in June of '79, and I called him up in August and asked him if he'd put something in about it, and I got 30 calls.
The Capital Area Animal Welfare Society, known as CAAWS, was born. It's now the oldest local humane organization and only no-kill shelter in Baton Rouge. Holly's considered the mother of the modern humane movement in Louisiana. She inspired others to action.
At least 6 other organizations have started from people who started in CAAWS.
20 years after starting CAAWS, Holly started a foundation.
My father had left some property, and I sold it and put the money to start a foundation. It's called Holly Reynolds Foundation for Animal Welfare.
It's another living legacy.
The principle will stay the same, so it'll go on and on when I'm gone.
So will the multitude of state and national animal welfare legislation she's devoted decades fighting for, even today at 100.
After I was president of CAAWS, I realized that the state laws in Louisiana were antiquated. We didn't even have a law against cockfighting.
She'll never forget being in the Capitol when the law finally changed.
Representative from Mandeville was nearby, and I remember throwing my hands up and going and grabbing him. I was so excited.
Holly's still tenacious, working on new legislation for next session.
When you work on a bill, if you can get half of what you want, you do it well, you take it and say, we'll build on this.
She's built a national reputation. At her 100th birthday party, the president of the National Animal Welfare Institute flew in from Washington, D.C. to surprise her with this award, celebrating her life as a humanitarian and centenarian.
I was really thrilled that she would do that.
Holly insisted no gifts.
So I said, 100 years old is nothing I need. But if you want to bring pet food, you can bring pet food. And you'd think at this age, you know, you wouldn't be able to do much. So sometimes I think the Lord is keeping me here so I can continue doing things like that.